speed boosters have been around for a long time. However, the modern speed boosters were first designed about 10 years ago for mirrorless cameras by a PhD in optics by the name of Dr. Brian Caldwell. Dr. Caldwell has a very specific and exclusive relationship with a manufacturing company called Metabones. And only Metabones speed boosters are designed by Dr. Brian Caldwell. Now, after a few years when these speed boosters first came out, there were a lot of terrific reviews on these Metabones speed boosters. They were the only ones who made them in the beginning. But then after they got popular, there were a number of generic third-party companies that copied them and made replicas, or what I like to call knockoffs. Now, some of these knockoffs were $70 to around $200 US, really inexpensive compared to the $500, $600, $700 Metabone speed boosters we have here. Now, look at all of the companies here that made these $70 to $200 knockoff speed boosters. But there was one company that made knockoff speed boosters that were expensive. They were made by Canon, and they cost about $600 a piece. I've never tested them, but from people I've talked with and from what I've read, the Canon $600 knockoff speed boosters were every bit as good as the Metabones. Now, how do these generic speed boosters compare with speed boosters made by Metabones? Well, I've made this chart that will help you to understand how Metabone speed boosters compare with the generic ones. First off, the Metabone speed boosters have better quality control. They fit better on the lens and on the camera, while on the third-party knockoff speed boosters, they're often too tight or too loose. From an IQ or image quality standpoint, again, the Metabone speed boosters are better than the generic knockoffs. The generic knockoffs have low contrast. They're soft, especially in the corners and edges. They vignette, have chromatic aberration, and some of them even produce a swirly type of bokeh. From an autofocusing standpoint, let's rate the Metabone speed boosters against the generic knockoffs. Well, none of them do autofocusing very good. All speed boosters are slower and hunt more and a little less accurate than a regular lens when it comes to autofocusing. However, from what I've read and from my experience, autofocusing when using a Metabones original speed booster is a little bit better than the autofocusing you'll get from the third parties. Now, let's rate speed boosters. What I did was I developed a rating scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, and I rated speed boosters based on my experience and based on customer ratings that I saw at B&H.com, Amazon.com. So let's take a look at how my ratings and Amazon and B&H ratings fell when it came to speed boosters. Well, number one, I guess I rated the Metabones original speed boosters and the expensive Canon speed booster the highest. 9 to 10 out of 10. Really good. That's the best speed booster. Second place were the generic second generation, sometimes called Mark II speed boosters. This is a Mark II version right here. They have much better sharpness and fewer aberrations than the Generation 1 knockoffs, and these are actually pretty good. I've tried second generation speed boosters from Kipan and from Viltrox, and I rate them an 8 to 9. So they're almost as good as Metabones and Canon speed boosters. And finally, the first generation generic knockoff speed boosters like this one, they're, from my experience and from experience from Amazon and B&H customers, they're not as good as the second generation, and certainly not as good as Metabones and Canon speed boosters. And I rated these first generation knockoff speed boosters very low, just 4 to 6. So there you have it, my comparison and rating of the various speed booster manufacturers. In the beginning of this episode, I said that some folks called speed boosters the ultimate adapter. Now, in the last few months, I've purchased 5 speed boosters, and I've shot many photos. Take a look at these photos. I don't think that I could have obtained this shallow depth of field, this bokeh, this sharpness, especially in the center, with the lenses that I used on dumb adapters. I was initially skeptical about speed boosters, and I found it hard to believe these 6 wild claims that some early adopters of speed boosters claimed. But I'm a believer now. Speed boosters are, in my mind, probably the ultimate adapter. My favorite cameras for speed boosters are Micro Four Thirds cameras by Olympus and Panasonic, Sony APS-C cameras such as this XE2 mirrorless camera, and Sony E mirrorless cameras in APS-C with APS-C sensors. My favorite lenses are fast lenses, f1.4 to f2, with a focal range of 50 to 105 millimeters, and these are all manual focus primes. As far as my favorite lens manufacturer for speed boosters, I really like small Nikkor lenses, manual focus prime lenses that are made by Nikon. They're called Nikkor lenses, either in the non-AI, AI, or AIS format. Now, while I do love my speed boosters, I realize they're not for everyone. Who are they for? Well, if you're a bokeh fanatic like I am, I just love bokeh photographs, I think that you're going to want to try speed boosters. If you shoot a lot in low light, speed boosters are something you might want to try. I think speed boosters can be a benefit to folks who shoot a lot of portraits. And finally, anyone who has recently switched from a digital SLR camera to a smaller mirrorless APS-C or Micro Four Thirds camera would be a good candidate for speed boosters, because you can use your old DSLR full frame lenses on your new smaller mirrorless cameras. I know that speed boosters, brand new, especially Metabones, can be quite costly. Some of them cost $500, $600, even over $700 US. Now, I realize everyone can't afford that, but because speed boosters have very few moving parts, there's very little that can break or go wrong with them. And I don't see any problem with buying speed boosters used. In fact, all of my 5 speed boosters here, I bought used. And this is the one that I spent the most on. And it was just a little over $140 that I spent for this one. So if you're patient and you watch eBay and other online sources for used equipment, you can often find good used speed boosters for under $100 or certainly between $100 and $200 US. So overall, I guess I'd like to give speed boosters 2 big thumbs up. They're my favorite adapter, and I highly recommend them.